In 260 AD, the local and semi-independent kings bordering Iran Shah received a similar message from the Shahanshah of Iran. The Roman army had been destroyed by the Persian monarch, and Emperor Valerian had fallen into Persian captivity. This news sent a shockwave throughout the ancient world. After his victory at Edessa, Shapur once again crossed the Euphrates with his army and launched attacks into Syria, Cappadocia, and Cilicia. Major Roman cities such as Antioch fell once more and were plundered by the Persians. Believing that the Roman garrisons in the east had been emptied of soldiers, the Persians dispersed, assuming there was no organized resistance left, and began widespread raiding and plunder. They were unaware that the remaining Roman forces in the east had chosen a man named Callistus as their commander and were preparing a counter-offensive. Although Callistus did not possess enough troops to confront the full strength of the Persian army in a pitched battle, he was capable of striking at scattered detachments of Persian forces. He succeeded in trapping and defeating a contingent of 3,000 Persian soldiers. Even so, Callistus alone could not fully halt the Persian advance. Fortunately for the Romans, Callistus was not the only figure to take up resistance against Shapur's invasion. In the late summer of 260 AD, Shapur was returning to Ctesiphon with the vast spoils he had gathered from Syria, Cappadocia, and Cilicia, when a messenger from Odaenathus, the king of Palmyra, arrived bearing lavish gifts. Odaenathus hoped that by sending these costly offerings, he might dissuade the Persians from attacking his realm and at the same time secure a profitable trade agreement with the Sasanian Empire. But Shapur, intent on eventually destroying the Palmyrene kingdom as well, paid no attention to the gifts and ordered that they be thrown into the river. Following his father's policy, Shapur sought to eliminate any kingdom that threatened Iran's monopoly over the silk trade. He therefore wrote back to the king of Palmyra, declaring that he would destroy both him and his kingdom. Realizing the situation, Odaenathus immediately gathered an army around himself and marched out of Palmyra to confront the Sasanian Shahanshah. He quickly reached northern Mesopotamia and, near the cities of Samosata and Zeugma, ambushed the Persian forces who were passing through the region. Shapur, whose army had been dispersed across Syria and Cilicia, was unable to mount an effective response against the sudden attack of the Palmyrene king. The Persians were forced to retreat, and according to Roman sources, they lost all of their spoils and Roman captives. Yet historical evidence shows that Odaenathus's victory was not as great as Roman historians claim. Shapur, in his Kaaba-yi Zartosht inscription, explicitly states that Roman prisoners were present in Persis, Khorasan, and Khuzestan, and archaeological evidence confirms that these captives were employed in constructing various buildings throughout Iran. After the Persian withdrawal, Odaenathus supported Gallienus in the Roman civil war against Macrianus, sending troops to aid him. When the conflict ended in Gallienus's favor, Odaenathus was appointed by the emperor to lead a campaign against the Sasanian Empire. In 262 AD, he departed Palmyra with his army and succeeded in bringing Carrhae and Edessa under his control. He then advanced further and captured Nisibis, although the strong pro-Persian sentiment among the city's inhabitants prevented him from removing it entirely from Persian influence. Having secured the northern regions of Mesopotamia, Odaenathus marched southward and even laid siege to Ctesiphon. though he failed to take the city and was forced to withdraw. His achievements earned him prestigious Roman titles such as Augustus and Strategos, bestowed by Emperor Gallienus. In addition, he adopted the title King of Kings, a royal title the Sasanians regarded as uniquely their own, thereby directly challenging the authority of the Sasanian Shahanshah. Shapur's victories over the Romans had created a significant power vacuum in the eastern provinces of the Roman Empire, one that Odaenathus rapidly moved to fill. He expanded his dominion aggressively, pushing his borders westward into Anatolia and southward into Palestine, reaching even the approaches to Egypt. The Palmyrene kingdom was on the verge of becoming a major threat to Rome itself. In 267 AD, Odaenathus was assassinated in a family coup, and his wife Zenobia assumed power as regent for their son. She further expanded Palmyrene influence and ambition, to the point that Emperor Aurelian declared war on her to bring the breakaway kingdom to heel. Modern historians, however, have questioned the reliability of the Roman accounts concerning Odaenathus's campaigns into Sasanian territory. Several scholars, among them Professor Lukonin, Christensen, Shahram Jalilian, and others, suggest that late Roman narratives may contain elements of exaggeration, shaped in part by the political and literary context of the time, particularly in the aftermath of the defeat at Edessa. From this perspective, it appears uncertain whether Odaenathus's operations matched the scale described in Roman sources, especially given the military successes Shapur had achieved against the Kushans and multiple Roman emperors during the same period. The campaign of 260 AD and the counteroffensive of Odaenathus mark the final recorded appearance of Shapur I on the battlefield. In the remaining years of his life, the King of Kings devoted himself not to war, but to construction, restoration, and the flourishing of Iran Shah. Numerous cities were founded or rebuilt under his reign, the most significant among them being Shapur, modern-day Nishapur, in Khorasan, and Gundeshapur in Khuzestan. Gundeshapur, constructed in large part by Roman captives, soon became the foremost intellectual center of the Sasanian Empire. The Academy, or School of Gundeshapur, a major Sasanian center of medical and scientific learning, is sometimes regarded as a precursor to later universities. In a remarkably short time, it distinguished itself in medicine, philosophy, theology, and the natural sciences. According to medieval Muslim historians, this great center of learning played a pivotal role in transmitting the scientific and philosophical heritage of the Greeks, Indians, and ancient Iranians into the Islamic world during its golden age. Shapur was a man of formidable strength and heroic bearing, a commander of great talent and experience, so esteemed, in fact, that the Persians bestowed upon him the titles Shapur the Battler and Shapur the Man of War. In his inscription at Hajiabad, Shapur recounts how he demonstrated his power and mastery before kings, nobles, and both the greater and lesser lords of the realm by shooting an arrow with extraordinary force and precision. Few figures in history can claim to have defeated 3 Roman emperors. Shapur struck one down in the midst of battle, compelled another to pay a heavy indemnity, and captured the third with his own hands. Shapur also achieved remarkable success in the Eastern Territories, extending the borders of his dominion to the northern reaches of the Indian subcontinent. In every respect, he not only preserved but expanded the legacy of his father, Ardashir. The kingdoms that threatened Sasanian control of the silk trade were subdued. The great commercial centers of the East were brought firmly under imperial authority, and the semi-independent rulers within the empire were replaced by princes of the Sasanian royal house, further centralizing power within the monarchy. Over the course of his 30-year reign, Shapur strengthened the foundations of the newly established Sasanian Empire so securely that it would endure for 4 centuries. In 270 AD, this great Sasanian Shahanshah fell gravely ill and passed away in the city of Bishapur. Before his death, Shapur appointed his son, Hormizd Ardashir, as his successor. Although Shapur had elder sons, Hormizd's achievements, especially his campaign in Cappadocia and his role in the capture of Antioch, made him, in his father's view, the most suitable heir to the throne. Yet, in an unfortunate turn for the Persians, Hormizd Ardashir died only a year after his accession. His sudden passing opened the door to a new period of internal conflict within the Sasanian Empire, conflicts we will discuss in future. If you enjoyed this documentary, make sure to like and subscribe, and visit the channel for more content.